Hey dude, so you made that video about Genshin Impact character designs in Mondstadt like months ago. You gonna do another one on Liyue?
What type of flowers do you think those are in Keqing's costume?
Is that supposed to be an answer or?
The depth to Xiao is incredible, but aesthetically, does it create as much as an impact?
Have you slept?
What would rank higher, flower symbolism or symbolism of Chinese arts?
I'll take that as a no.
But Chi-Chi is such a literal reflection of a Chinese legend, shouldn't she rank?
So, does this mean you're doing the Liyue video? Yes. Yes, it does. So that's why you've got a 40-page slideshow of Genshin Impact characters and you can't stop muttering to yourself? Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Hello! I made a promise that I would make a video series ranking every single Genshin Impact character by region based on their character designs. I made Mondstadt and then I dipped and disappeared. Look, I got busy competing in the World Cosplay Summit and then trying to catch up on live, and anyway, I'm here now. And I'm here to make halfway good on that promise. Making a video talking about 20 character designs, researching them, analysing them, scripting the video, filming the video, and editing the video was a lot, so I have cut back a little. We are doing the top 10 Liyue characters based on their character designs. Did I still personally analyse every Liyue character in order to make this video? Yes, but doing a top 10 at least makes the scripting, editing, and filming part shorter for me. I also decided, learning from my mistakes in the past video, that I needed to up my game in terms of research. I spent 2 weeks alone researching each and every character. I also did a lot of research into ancient China and Chinese fashions and Chinese culture. In my Mondstadt video, I made the mistake of just being like, oh, there's like nothing to Beidou's design, not remembering that Beidou is connected to Khaenri'ah and his design is based on Khaenri'ah. No more silly mistakes this time. This video is my masterpiece. In fact, I created a ranking system for this one. Here is my chart. Allow me to explain. Everything is rated out of 10 with 4 categories. Number 1 is cultural references. This means ties to Chinese mythology, arts, or fashion reflected in the characters. In-game references. Aspects of Liyue or Genshin lore reflected in the character and their costumes. Symbolism. I mainly base this on what I talked about in my first video on how being able to look at a character should instantly tell you important facts about the character. And overall symbolism of the costume and design. And aesthetic. Now, having a column for aesthetics does instantly create a bias and does make this video a little bit subjective, but I mainly use this as a sort of tiebreaker between the characters. And also how a character looks is a pretty important part of the design. A few disclaimers before we jump into everything. The characters I included were taken from the character menu of the Genshin Impact website, where all playable characters are listed by region. However, I did not include Child in this, as I'd rather rank him with Snezhnaya characters. Due to the nature of my rating system, characters who have jobs or perform arts that are directly linked to something from ancient China or even modern China are instantly going to rank a little bit higher because they immediately have more distinct and obvious cultural references. Please forgive any mispronunciations in this. It is inevitable that there will be some. All research that I did into China and Chinese practices came from online websites and resources, so it's entirely possible that I may misspeak on some things or maybe not fully understand something, so please feel free to politely correct me in the comments. In the same vein, Genshin Impact is a highly detailed game in its world, story, and characters. I'm sure there were many more details on these characters that I probably missed. Anything I missed, please feel free to put in the comments. I am one person and this was a massive project for me. This massive project actually earns me no money as my channel is not yet monetized. So please make sure you stay to the end, not just to learn who number 1 was, which was actually quite surprising, but it also really helps out the channel. And lastly, a big shout out to the Genshin Impact Wiki. I don't know who's behind the Genshin Impact Wiki, but I love you. Genshin Wiki was a huge source of information for me for learning lore about characters and reminding myself of lore that I've forgotten. But please, whoever runs the Genshin wiki, please change the black background with white font. It hurts my eyes, and when you stop reading and look up at the wall, you blink and can still see the words on the wall. Still love you though. Anyway, let's start off with a quick introduction to Liyue and some of the fashions and references that will occur quite often with these characters. All Genshin regions are based off cultures from our own world, but with their own Hoyoverse spin on them. Liyue is based off ancient China. I do think that Liyue is one of the best regions for reflecting the culture that it is based on, and I also do believe that that is largely because Hoyoverse is a Chinese company. Liyue isn't based off one specific dynasty or time period from ancient China, but rather takes pieces from all aspects and mythology of it. However, in a lot of my research, I did find that, particularly when it came to fashion, there was a lot drawn from the Qing dynasty. Common aspects of Chinese fashion that we can see in Liyue include what I've found to be called frog fasteners in many aspects of clothing, which we can see in both NPC and playable characters. And a recurring shape to garments we see in Liyue is based off a cheongsam or qipao. This one-piece traditional garment features a very distinctive neckline, silhouette, and crossover of fabric. While playable characters don't wear this exact garment, we can see references to it in their costume. We can also see varying styles of clover knots throughout costumes. Liyue itself has many unique motifs, including this multi-diamond symbol and auspicious symbols, as described on the Genshin wiki, and most common is a cloud motif. While Genshin certainly has its flaws when taking inspiration from other cultures, the attention to detail while creating these regions is undeniable. Recurring patterns, symbolism, and motifs throughout costume, architecture, and the world itself show how much thought goes into this. I went back and forth so many times making this video on whether I should just include all Liyue characters, because there were some who didn't make the top 10 who, after researching them, I still really wanted to talk about. But there are a handful who I just didn't have much to say about, and I wanted this to be a celebration of the best of Genshin, not talking about what was missing from some characters. I also questioned my rankings so many times of, did I put these characters in the right order? Did I choose the right top 10? And with all that said, let's get into discussing my top 10 Liyue character designs. Number 10 is Xinyan. Now, I feel like this one's going to be kind of controversial considering this character gets a weird amount of hate. Symbolically, this design sums her up entirely. Throughout her whole attire, there are very obvious signs that she is into rock and roll, and there's many elements of punk fashion in her design. The fishnets, spikes, black fingernail polish, rings, and colored hair are all things that we can see in typical punk outfits. Her character is meant to symbolize a new era of Liyue, embracing new ideas but still respecting old traditions, shown in the combination of punk and recurring Liyue themes in color scheme and the cheongsam style of her top. Her vision is also on her drum, an instrument, and visions are often placed on items important to the characters. The striped rope decorations also remind me of raccoon hair that you'd see in scene hairstyles, but that might just be something that only I would notice. I don't think it was intentional. There is also some sort of Chinese writing on her drum, but I wasn't able to find any translation to it. If you know what it is, please tell me. I couldn't find anything on it. Overall, very effective design. It's clear and it tells you about the character. Next up at number 9 is Hu Tao. There's a lot of symbolism throughout Hu Tao's design, especially in relation to her being a funeral parlor director and her connection to death. The flower design on her blazer is a red spider lily flower, which represents sad memories and the death of loved ones. The spider lily also appears on the uniform of Wangsheng funeral parlor employees. The flowers on her hat are plum blossoms, which she grew herself and symbolize perseverance and new beginnings. Her hair being in pigtails also shows her playful side to her character. On her hat is a paper talisman, which we also see on Chi-Chi the zombie. There are also clover knots on her socks, and she wears a cheongsam style red undershirt. She loses points for having what I like to call Genshin Impact bare leg syndrome, where it's very full and impactful at the top, and then you get to the legs and it's like, it's just legs. The dark color scheme and the tailored suit also get to show her role as a funeral director. Overall, it's effective. Number 8, Don't yell at me for putting him this low, but it's Zhongli. Initially, I put this man a lot higher on the list because I kind of felt like I had to, like he's the former Archon. But I feel like this is the right place for him on this list because I actually have like a critique of his design. At a glance, Zhongli's design is effective. You look at him and you see wisdom and power. While other characters in the game have a similar design, he is the only playable Liyue character to have this design of a straight cut suit. Suits are also the uniform of the Wangsheng funeral parlor. The key aspect of his design is the motifs of his dragon form. There are scales along his suit which represent dragon scales, however in my opinion they just look a bit too much like fish. I think it's clever that the suit is so straight and tailored, especially when just looking from the front, but the design of the tails of it flow like the shape of a dragon form. I do wish they could incorporate the clouds of his tail somewhere, or a few more details from the dragon. The pattern along his back is also the same pattern that we see throughout Liyue, particularly on ruins. He ranks lower for me only because he's just lacking in a few more details like other characters. But you can't deny that it's an effective design. Number 7 is Gaming. Okay, so Gaming has a pretty big thing going for him with his design, and that is his lion head hood. The costumes for wushu dancers and the lion heads for wushu dancers are incredible. From like a Google image search alone, the detail, vibrance, and colors on those lion heads are awesome. I do wish there was a little bit more detail to Gaming's. Especially if they could have had those tiered scallop designs that appear on the Chinese costumes. But I do understand that with these designs they have to take the Chinese aspects and make them all Teyvat and Hoyoverse-like. I get it. The lion head hood on Gaming's costume still has the traditional shapes and features we can see in wushu costumes. There are little dots on Gaming's costumes that we can take to be little lights, as these are the spots that glow when he's performing and during his idol animation. Gaming was released alongside Chen Yu Veil, and his key colours match the key colours of this area. He also has a lot of the common Liyue details such as Chinese coins, frog fasteners, red clover knots, and Liyue designs on his shoes and pants. References to him being a guard, aka a delivery guy, are in the delivery bag he carries and the shoulder pads, which look like armour. Overall, Gaming's just cute. Like, that's my boy right there. Number 6! We are getting to it now. Number 6 is Ganyu. A big shout out to Ethelde for posting this on the Hoyo Lab site. They explain a lot of the aspects of Ganyu's costume and design that otherwise I wouldn't have understood as well. I will leave a link to their full article in the description below. I highly recommend reading it. It's got a lot of interesting research. So thanks to Ethelde, I now understand that a key part of Ganyu's costume is her quillin ties. Quillins are beasts from Chinese legends and have been described as having a deer-like body, an ox's tail, horse's hooves, or yellow fur. The quillin traits represented in Ganyu are her ram horns and the copper bell around her neck. According to Ethelde's research, the bell around her neck appears to be made of copper. Since ancient times, copper bells have been believed to ward off evil, dispel negative energy, and ensure safety. In particular, they can suppress the 5 yellow negative energy, which is an ominous presence in homes and other spaces. In plain terms, adding the bell can work smoother, which suits well with Ganyu, who is known for working overtime and has an identity of the quillin. However, it is possible that the addition of this bell was also inspired by the bell sheep herders put in the flock in real life. Ganyu's sleeves also have a lot of detail. I initially thought the sleeves looked like ice, but they're styled to look like lotus flower petals, her elemental burst being a lotus. This lotus petal design also carries through to the skirts. Throughout her design, there are also references to other characters that Ganyu is close to. The cloud design on the skirts could be in reference to Cloud Retainer, and her overall design is an inverted version of Shenhe's design, both characters having Cloud Retainer as their mentor. She also has elements of Beidou's costumes in her, and this design on her lower back reminds me of Xiao's mask. According to the Genshin wiki, she tends to snap whenever people speak ill of Beidou or the Geo Archon. She greatly respects her fellow Adepti, especially Xiao and Cloud Retainer, seeing them as a mentor and a maternal figure respectively. The references to other characters you can see on her costume are characters that she's directly close with. Ganyu's design is really a standout in a sense that the devil's in the details. The more you look and analyze and pick at, the more that you can pick up on. Okay, This is top 5 now, so we're really getting into the best of the best, hypothetically. Number 5 is Yunjun. Yunjun's design, much like her character, is based off traditional Chinese opera singers. Her headpiece is inspired by rongqiu, a headpiece often worn as a part of opera singers' costumes. I loved getting to look at these costumes as part of researching these videos. They are incredibly detailed and just awesome looking. These headpieces often featured pom-poms, which are a key part of Yunjin's headpiece. Her character was created with inspiration taken from Chinese heroines, such as Mu Guiying, Mulan, and Liang Hongqiu. Depictions of Mi Guiying show her with 2 long braids, like Yunjin. Her outfit was designed to embrace tradition, but still show a young person with modern values. In terms of colour scheme, we tried red and blue, which are often seen in traditional opera costumes, but with Yunjin's personality in mind. In the end, we designed this costume for her that had elements of Chinese opera and a type of daily wear that is different from the traditional colour schemes. In terms of design details, we incorporated many traditional elements into daily wear, such as the pom-poms, feather plumes, and cloud collar on her opera headwear, as well as ribbons on the skirt and hem and so on. We also used cloud patterns and diamond grid-like patterns for the embellishments. We hope that through this type of design, which brings traditional elements into the everyday, this makes the character more relatable. I initially had this character at like 2nd or 1st place, just because from like reading the article and watching the video about the creators of this character, they just had so much like care go into her. Yunjin's just a very well crafted character. Okay, number 4, we are 1 away from the top 3 now. Number 4 is Jeanyun. Jeanyun's design is a simple idea done very effectively. Let's take this bird and make her a human. It's quite literally a translation of Cloud Retainer's bird form as a human. We can see the feathers on Cloud Retainer's head have become the hairpiece of Jeanyun's hair. She maintains her taloned fingers from her bird form, which I think is really cool. And the back of her, I've decided to call it a capelet, fall like bird wings. The design of both the dress and capelet flow like feathers and have details and designs that swirl like clouds. The same cloud design is also in her elemental burst. There's a bunch of little details like the wings on the shoes, the design of the shoulders, and overall the design really pops when she's moving, as you can see the way it's made to flow. The colour scheme is also very important. The capelet is made of colours that represent Anemo and the colours of Cloud Retainer, while the body of the dress is dark brown with gold accents to represent Liyue. Overall, it's just so well done, this costume, through the shape and silhouette alone. You just look at it and you're like, ooh, yes. Okay, now my top 3. This is the part where maybe my own personal bias got in the way, but you know what? And that's because number 3 is Beidou. This is the ranking where I think, yes, my personal bias may have gotten in the way, because I love Beidou. But there genuinely is a lot to this design. Firstly, let's look at all the references to her being a pirate, because there's a lot throughout the design. Obvious one is the pirate patch. We can also see the rope around her vision. And there's a recurring theme of anchors throughout the costume, which I am a Beidou main. I have been playing her for years, and I didn't notice some of these until I really looked up close. There are anchors on the boots, on her gloves, and I believe that the front piece of the costume is also an anchor. And we can see an anchor as a part of the design of the sails on the crux. Another important detail is the back pieces of the capelet, which their design looks like a red military jacket, representing Beidou's assistance in fighting to protect Liyue. The hairpiece also reminds me of a scale, as we see throughout Liyue, namely on pressure plates, which lead to treasure, and she's a pirate. I only just got that. I can't talk about the scale hairpiece without talking about the most important part of Beidou's design, which is that her design mirrors with Ning Wang's. Ning Wang and Beidou mirror each other in their designs, which I take as a sign that it's queer coding and they're lovers, but that's a whole other discussion. They both have the same hairpiece, which carries a lot more symbolism for Ning Wang, but we might get into that later. Spoilers. They both have fur on their shoulders, fur being exclusive to more opulent characters in Genshin. The shape of their costumes, the shape on Ning Wang's ankle matches with the one that runs up Beidou's leg. The Qiong style closing of the shirts, the same bust shape. They are designed to match one another, much in the same way that I talked about Jean and Lisa matching each other in the first video. In summary, I love Beidou. More like Beidou, sorry. Number 2, we got 2 more characters to go. Number 2, another personal favorite of mine, is Xiao. While aesthetically Xiao's outfit is a little messy and isn't sleek like other designs, the symbolism is freaking crazy. I'm going to link below the Genshin wiki for Xiao's lore and Xiao's creation because, wow, the sheer amount of thought and mythology that went into creating this character, I genuinely believe is one of the reasons he's one of the best characters in the game. Where to start with this guy? One of my favorite details is his tattoo. The design of the other Yakshas isn't something we see clearly in-game, with the exception of Bozacius during the Chazamar conquest. And we can see he also has an arm tattoo and a colour that matches his element, much like Xiao does. Looking at it closer, you can see a face in it that either looks like a lion head or a dragon. I believe a dragon will be the most likely option in reference to Rex Lapis. On Xiao's forehead we can see this diamond shape, which I believe may be to represent the concept of a third eye. According to the Genshin wiki, only those of non-human status can be referred to as Adepti in Liyue. The 3 eyes part of the Adepti's title refers to the third eye possessed by those with the ability to manipulate an elemental energy, which for human takes the form of a vision. For Adepti such as Cloud Retainer and Mountain Shaper, the human understanding is that they must have an inner eye which serves the same purpose as a vision. I think that mark on his forehead is a physical interpretation of his inner third eye. There are many items in Xiao's design that serve as religious artifacts, including his mask, which is based off Chinese exorcism masks. He also carries a censer and vaka, which represent firmness of spirit and spiritual power. He also wears jade, which gives a sense of longevity and mystery. There's a lot of thought put into the colour scheme of Xiao, his clothing and overall physical appearance. On the upper half of Xiao, we see lots of white and blue colours to represent Animo, and his light fighting style, while on the lower half of Xiao, there is purple to represent the darker parts of himself. From the creatives themselves, traditionally, an immortal is imagined as a scholarly figure in long, flowing robes with wide sleeves, who is fairly reserved in the movements of their hands and feet. But Xiao, as a master of the dance-like art of polearm combat and a fleet-footed yaksha, required clothing that offers both protection and freedom of movement. So he made Xiao's garments close-fitting and short-sleeved, put some light gauntlets on his wrist, and added some religious paraphernalia such as a censer and vaja. Meanwhile, his streamers and the breechcloths around his waist are decorated with a cloud motif to add a sense of antiquity. In this way, we achieved a union between practicality and ethereality. Also, I can't tell if I'm crazy or not. Does this shape on the side of Xiao's pants remind anyone of a plunge attack? Which is what he mostly fights with? I'm crazy, aren't I? Xiao is impressive in literally all aspects of his creation, and his design is no exception. Place your bets now of who is number 1 of the best of Liyue character designs. Place them now. Place them now. Pretend like I didn't low-key spoil it earlier. Number 1 is Ning Wang. I was pretty surprised by this. The only reason Ning Wang ranks number 1 and higher above other characters with similar levels of symbolism and detail is probably because I gave her a 10 out of 10 for aesthetics. Because what flaw can you point out to me in this? I'll wait. Also, just by looking at her, you can look and see that's a rich and powerful lady. In fact, I got a non-Genshin player to look at some of these designs for me to help me when I was having a crisis about the ranking. And when they looked at Ning Wang, you know what word they said first? Powerful. And I was like, thank you, that's my point proven. They did also say though, however, that Beidou's design reminded them of a bellboy at a hotel. And I was like, that's not what I was hoping you'd say. Shout out to my sibling, Caitlin. The color scheme of gold gives a connection to Mora, or money, and her height and design shape all scream rich and powerful lady. It's also important to note that yellow was a colour reserved for the imperial family in ancient China, while white was for commoners, which could easily represent her being a tie between the people of Liyue and its rulers. Firstly, let's go back to the idea of her mirroring Beidou. The hairpiece that I believe to represent a scale in Liyue carries even more significance for Ning Wang. The scale is a symbol of Liyue and a symbol of the delicate balance of Liyue. In fact, we see that Ning Wang has a scale on her desk in the Jade Chamber. And in her idle animation, she balances a pipe on her finger and tips it like a scale. Ning Wang keeps in check the balance of both information and finance in Liyue. The most important detail of her design is the ginkgo leaf motif. Ginkgo leaves represent longevity, but my favourite symbolic detail is that they turn the golden colour that we see on Ning Wang in autumn. Autumn being a season of change. Ning Wang, in many senses, represents change in Liyue. She was the one who helped Liyue be ruled by humans, rather than rely on Archons and Rex Lapis, and helped Liyue move into a new era. We also see the ginkgo leaves in the Jade Chamber when you first walk in on this centerpiece here, and they also appear on the TCG card for the Jade Chamber. Her silhouette from behind makes me think of a bird in the way that it flows, and her name card is that of a phoenix. It could also represent the floating aspect of the Jade Chamber. Overall, I love just the visual impact of her costume and the depth to the very subtle details of it. And if you want to argue with me about me ranking her number one, me ranking her number one on this list is justice for the fact that Genshin had the audacity to make her a 4-star character. And that, my dear viewer, is the end of the top 10 Liyue characters based on their character designs. Please take my biggest of thank yous for you staying till the end of this video. I'm so grateful for you sticking to the end. This video took me weeks, and it is truly a love letter to the game. And I would love to continue this love letter with analysing Inazuma next. So if you want that video, let me know by liking this video, sharing your thoughts in the comments below, and just know that by sticking around to the end of this video, you're really helping out with getting me some watch time for this channel and helping me get monetized. And if you want to make sure that you don't miss it when that Inazuma video comes, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've got all sorts of fun things going on here. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your support. I'll see you later. Bye!